All right, what is up? Hope everybody is doing good today. A few things to go over before we jump into the chat. NASCAR has announced its Cookout Clash at Bowman Gray Stadium. Format this from NASCAR heat races and the starting lineup. The field will be split into three practice groups, with each group receiving 3 sessions. Each competitor's fastest lap time from their final practice session will determine the final lineup for the heat races. The fastest qualifier will be on pole for heat one. The second fastest will be on the pole for heat race two. Third fastest qualifier will be on the pole for heat race three. Fourth fastest will be on the pole for heat race four, etc. So there you go, pretty straightforward. I don't necessarily have a problem with this. I like the way they broke it down, and they're just going to keep all the groups the same. So that's pretty cool right there. And then, you're going to have some groups that are stronger than other groups. So there's going to be arguments like that, sort of like, basketball in the Final Four. This team got an easier bracket than that team. So there will be that argument, which I think will be fun for a race like this since it doesn't count for points. It'll be fun to have that argument that such and such is in an easier heat class than the other one, so on and so forth. The heat races themselves, the four heat races of 25 laps each with only green flag laps counted, no overtime in play. The top five from each heat race advance to the Clash. So that's pretty straightforward. They're taking the top five, and then they're going to have a last chance qualifier. So all this happens on February 1st. The heat races will happen on February 1st, I think, with the modified race, if I'm not mistaken. And then on the main event, the big day, they're going to have the last chance qualifier on that day. Cars that do not transfer to the Clash will compete in a last chance qualifier race that will their starting position will be determined by where they finished in their respective heat races. The last chance qualifier is 75 laps with only green flag laps counted, no overtime in play. The two top finishers in the last chance qualifier will transfer to the Clash. I like a last chance qualifier. I like the fact that they're having it that day, so you won't know who's getting in until that day. That being said, 75 laps for a last chance qualifier on a track this tight, this short, there there is an opportunity for there to be a ton of cautions and for the last chance qualifier to drag on for a long period of time. Just like any last chance qualifier, any racetrack you look at has a chance of doing. So I don't know, maybe cut it down to 50 because the heat races are only 25 laps apiece. So maybe cut this down to 50 laps, 75 laps, last chance qualifier. It has a chance to be an absolute poo fest, if I must say so. But other than that, I do like the fact that they're doing the last chance qualifier on the actual main event night. Then, of course, the Cookout Clash feature, the main event, will feature 23 drivers competing for 200 laps with only green flag laps counting. The race must end under green. A time break will be observed at the halfway point of the race, lap 100. The lineup for the first 22 spots for the Clash is set through finishing positions in the heat races in the last chance qualifier. The 23rd and final starting spot is reserved for the driver who finished the highest in the 2024 season driver point standings who did not already transfer into the Clash. So there you go. Your 23rd provisional will be whoever was highest in points last season of the remaining drivers. So there you go. I don't really have a problem with anything in the format other than the last chance qualifying race might be just a little bit too long, but that's a small nitpick, really, to be honest with you. At the end of the day, there is some sponsor news to get to as well. Rush Truck Centers is going to be sponsoring Noah Gregson for 8 races, and those 8 races will be the Daytona 500, the Circuit of the Americas, COTA in Austin, Texas, Texas Motor Speedway, Kansas Speedway, Nashville Super Speedway, Indianapolis Motor Speedway, Bristol, I think that's the night race, but I'm not 100% sure, and then the Talladega Super Speedway in Talladega, Alabama. So there you go. Rush Truck Centers. It's very similar to the scheme, obviously, that Clint Boyer has run, and you've seen that scheme last year, of course, on Noah Gregson's car as well, if I'm not mistaken. Rebel Bourbon going to be back sponsoring Kyle Busch once again. That car was a really good-looking car. So it's cool that they came together and did that again. I did like the paint scheme on that one. I think they're going to do let me read here. I think it's either 3 or 4 races. I can't remember off the top of my head. and I'm not seeing it jump out to me here in this press release from RCR. It's in there somewhere. I'm just not catching it on this initial scan here, but I think it's 3 or 4 races. I'll have to go back and double check that at some point. But Rebel Bourbon back on the side of the number 8 car for Kyle Busch as he looks for a rebound season. Workforce going to be sponsoring Michael McDowell for 3 races on the side of the 71. That's going to take some getting used to. Seeing Michael McDowell in a car that's not the 34, seeing him in that 71, seeing him in a Chevrolet, something I'm also not used to looking at. So that's going to take a lot of adjustment. But the car itself is sort of like a blue with a Orlando Magic blue and a Duke blue and a white. Not a bad looking paint scheme at the end of the day. But I don't know, man. Michael McDowell in the 71 car and in a Chevrolet, it's going to take some getting used to say the very least. And you will see this car at Bowman Gray. You'll see it at Phoenix, and you will also see it at Richmond. So not a bad looking scheme at all. But I don't know. It's going to take a few races for me to associate those colors with Michael McDowell and a Chevrolet. Michael McDowell being in a Chevrolet, probably going to look at the 34 a lot and be like, "Hey, Michael McDowell's racing there," or whatever. One scheme that we will associate with a driver because it's been with him for a long time, Sonny D. And Ricky Stenhouse Jr. and Hayek Motorsports have announced that they will partner up again next season. So we do know at least another one of Ricky Stenhouse Jr.'s sponsor. This here, a press release from Hayek itself. Hayek Motorsports welcomes back Sonny D, part of the Harvest Hill Beverage Company, a race team partner for the 2025 NASCAR Cup Series season. Sonny D will serve as the primary sponsor for 5 Cup races for driver Ricky Stenhouse Jr. and the number 47 team for the 6th race. Hungry Jack, a sister brand to Sonny D. That's interesting. I didn't know that. So you get you some Hungry Jack pancakes and some Sunny D, and you got your breakfast going on there with a lot of sugar. We'll sponsor Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Through Hometown Food Company. So they got Hometown Food Company, I guess, sort of a part of the Harvest Hill Beverage Company as well. In addition to joining the team, these primary, Sunny D will serve as an associate sponsor for the number 47 team all season. So there you go. Familiar colors on the side of that 47 for Ricky Stenhouse Jr. And it's really cool that they are going to keep it going with him there. And they will have him on February Sunday 2nd at Bowman Gray Stadium. The Sunny D will be on the side of the car there. So you won't have to wait a long period of time to see it. The other places you'll be able to catch it there will be April 13th at Bristol Motor Speedway, May 4th at Texas Motor Speedway, and then also the All-Star race at North Wilkesboro. Well, we were just talking about Kyle Busch. We'll see if we get a repeat of the Kyle Busch versus Ricky Stenhouse deal. And then October 6th at Talladega, you will also see it there. Brownwood Partners will also showcase Hungry Jack, part of the Hometown Foods Company, on January 28th in the Saturday night race at Atlanta Motor Speedway. So there you go. You'll see the pancake car at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Cool stuff as we're getting closer, ever so closer to the Cookout Clash. We got, of course, this weekend coming up, the 24 hours at Daytona. So not a traditional speed weeks anymore, but we can group it all together. And that brings me to the poll question. Speaking of the Clash and speaking of speed weeks and the 24 hours at Daytona, the Clash, do you think they should keep moving it around? 39% already voting for that. Always at Daytona is 43%. And Daytona every 2 to 3 years on a rotation, 17%. Cancel the Clash because reasons. I couldn't think of any reasons, but I did want to give you a fourth option for people that may or may not like the Clash. So here's my thoughts on it. And I'll just go ahead and skew the poll because I was thinking about this today. It's really special to have it at Daytona. There's that tradition there. But if you think about how something gets stale, the first couple of years at the LA Coliseum, it was exciting. It was fun. Everybody had a good time. This year at Bowman Gray, they're racing at the Madhouse. It's exciting. Everybody's going to have a bunch of fun with it. It keeps it fresh. So if you keep moving it around, it makes it special. So, because I don't think it's always going to be at Bowman Gray either, obviously. So if you move it around every so often, you get a little bit of pop and a little bit of buzz behind it. And also there's the traditionalists that want it at Daytona. So I think, in my opinion, the best bet is to have it at Daytona every second, third, or fourth year, maybe every fourth year, like the Olympics or something like that, and then rotate it to other tracks, and it's a way sort of like they were doing with the Chicago street race. Obviously, you wouldn't have the Clash as a street race. I think they tried that one year at Daytona, a road course for the Clash. Didn't really work out so well. But that being said, if you rotate it every so often, and then that third or fourth year, second, third, or fourth year, you bring it back to Daytona, you get the Daytona race every so often, and that makes the Daytona race special because you're only going to get it every so often, and it also makes all the other clashes special too because you don't know if it's going to come back that year or if it's going to get on a rotation like Daytona. So I think the best thing to do is to move it around, but every third or fourth year have it at Daytona. I think that's probably the happiest medium. That way, it always keeps the event fresh. That's just my thoughts on it. I have been wrong before. Feel free to disagree either in the chat or you can just make your vote known and disagree there. Unless you've already voted, then it's too late. So there you go. That is the poll question. Now let's jump into the chat and see what you guys want to talk about. Jimmy Schweitzer, what's up, my friend? Good to see you on here. Poll question suggestion: who will not win the race in 2025 Cup season? A Busch, a Gibbs, a Hamlin, or a Keselowski? I think they're all going to win. I think you're going to see Hamlin win. I think you're going to see Keselowski win. I think you're going to see Gibbs win, and I think you're going to see Busch win as well. So I don't know. I might throw that up as the season starts, though. That'll be a good preseason question. We've got a few more weeks before the season starts. I'd pick Hamlin. I'd pick all but Hamlin myself, says Schweitzer. So there you go. He thinks he's thinking the opposite. He's thinking everybody except Hamlin is going to not win next season. Hey, BB, hope all is well. Snowing right now here on Lake Norman. It's headed our way. We're going to get it here later tonight, from what I'm seeing on the radar reports, but hasn't quite gotten here yet. I tell you what, I've had enough of it though. I'm kind of over the snow. We live in the South. We don't really want to be seeing a whole lot of snow down here, but it's one of those years where we're going to get more, and we haven't even gotten like ice or anything bad. It's just been annoying snow. But I don't like the road salt because it rusts out your cars, and we're not used to dealing with that in the dirty. Anyway, let's see. In between the lanes, what's up, BB? What's up, Lanes? Good to see you on here. What's up, Dirty Def? What's up, One Wise Guy? One wise guy dropping the merch link. Much appreciated there. So there you go. The merch link is up there if you want to scroll up and take a look at it. Rolex 24 is this weekend, says In Between the Lanes. And I'm pretty stoked about that. You got a lot of NASCAR guys in there. You got a lot of American manufacturing brands in there. So I always like to pull for Cadillac. I always like to pull for Corvette, no matter where they finish. Acura, I used to pull for them until they cheated the one time that I went down there. I still kind of pull for them, but disappointed that they got the win via cheating with the air pressure scandal a few years ago. But that being said, I guess they're technically an American corporation. It's the American wing of Honda, luxury brand, I think. I don't know. Anyway, let's see. They're assembled in America. I know that. What's up, Shaw? What's up, Mark Barnum? Howdy from the Great White North. Go Bills. The Bills Mafia in the house, doing big things there. And you can thank us, Canucks, for your weather. We'll keep sending the cold if you do the tariffs. Just kidding. Ha ha ha, says Robin Marks. What's up, Robin Marks? What's up, Canada? The Bills, man, they're on a roll. Good for them. The only team so far that I've predicted, we'll put it that way, that I've predicted to go forward that has paid off. So I was batting 0 for 3, and the Bills did win. So I cursed here. If you're a Detroit Lions fan, I apologize because I cursed them. So, and if you're a what was the other one that I thought was like a stone cold lip? Who was it? The Vikings. I cursed the Vikings too. I thought the Vikings was a stone cold lead pipe lock, and they lost. And I was like, I'm not good for. I'm gonna stick to racing because I'm not good with the football predictions. Keeping the Clash at Daytona would help bring back a good Speed Weeks feel, says Brickyard. Brickhead. Yeah, I think you're right about that. And I also think that if it just was always at Daytona, it would get kind of stale. So I think if you rotate it around, but I do think I agree with you. I do think every so often you need to have it at Daytona. And then have it somewhere else on the other races. That way, it keeps everything fresh, keeps everything new. You can't just expect it every year. You gotta know that, hey, if we don't hit it now, it's going to be another 3 or 4 years before we can hit it here at whatever racetrack you want to go watch it at on that rotation. So I like the idea of moving it, but then having it every other time. Same thing with the All-Star race. I think once every 3 or 4 years, you should have it at Charlotte and then rotate it somewhere else. Rosie, what's up, my friend? Hope you're doing good. Mark Barnum saying what's up to Rosie as well. I saw Briscoe's Bass Pro Shop scheme on Instagram, says In Between the Lanes. I haven't seen that one yet. I did see somebody was talking about the McDonald's car. That is a really good for Bubba Wallace on the 23. I saw his version. That is a good looking McDonald's car. So they did a really good job with that one. They finally got rid of that primer gray that they've had on it for a couple times. This one definitely looks really smooth, really sleek. Yeah, for sure. Hi, Rosie Mark says one wise guy. Whoever ordered snow for North Carolina, could you please cancel your order? No doubt about it, Delmer Kaufman. I don't want to hear any more people talking about we never get snow down here. We got plenty of it this time, so I hope you enjoy it. And I hope we don't get it for like another 4 years. Let's put the snow on a 4-year rotation as well. Let's see. I bet they're glad they're not racing tonight. It's cold here, and I hope the local boys can get it in, says Jimmy Howard. Yeah, that's definitely going to play into it. Part of the reason that racing is seasonal like it is, and I forget who was talking about it. Talking about the weather, having the Clash in North Carolina is a good idea because the weather is always mild. It has not been mild this year, so we might. If it doesn't calm down, we might get a pretty nasty day for the Clash at the Coliseum. Although I think that track's small enough that they could probably put the damp weather tires on and probably do something there. Let's see. College football season is over. Yeah, I missed all those too. Like I missed every pick in college football except for the national championship game. I did have Ohio State beating Notre Dame, but I would say that was a no-brainer. But we had I said the other ones were no-brainers too, and I missed just about all those. So it is what it is. I am most excited for ARCA race with Cletus. I'm not a huge follower of the guy, but I watch some of his stuff, and he is pretty cool, says Shaw. Yeah, I think the vast majority of people are pulling for him, no doubt about it. So it's always just a cool story when somebody like that takes an interest in it. And I like that it's the ARCA. He's using ARCA, what ARCA is for. It's just a stepping stone to get to other super speedway races, to be totally honest with you. So hopefully he can put together enough races and get a license and get himself into the Daytona 500 either next year or whatever year that he would get enough experience to feel comfortable doing that race. Just to see somebody, basically just to see a YouTuber do the best he could and see what he can do against the actual professionals, because there's like a ton of people that sit at home and in their mind they're like, I could do that, talking about super speedway racing, and I promise you, no, you can't. There's a lot of skill to it. A lot of people just thinking you hold it wide open. There's a lot more to it than that. So it's going to be really interesting to see his effort, and I think it's hopefully it shows a lot of people anybody can go and turn a hot lap at Daytona, but to actually race in a pack is a different deal. And I think you're going to see that with that race. That being said, he's hired all the right people, put all the right people in place. I like the fact that he's got Greg Biffle. So he's doing it the absolute best way you can do it for an event like this. And I wish him all the best. And I hope he gets an excellent outcome from it. If Kurt Busch gets back in NASCAR, does he take on an alcohol sponsor, says Sir Wood Rooster? I would say not. I would say probably not. I think he's probably going to distance himself, at least publicly, from that as much as he can. Heat wave here, 14 degrees, was minus 30 to start the day, warming up to 50 or 32 tomorrow. Time to break out the barbecue, says Mark Barnum. For sure, you see a lot of Buffalo Bills fans cooking with their shirts off and stuff when it's snowing. So it's all in how you're used to the weather and things like that out there. Shy saying in Canada, we barbecue in the middle of the winter, 365 days a year. Hey, to my point, Shy letting you know there. I got snow where I'm at the past Sunday into Monday morning, says Lanes. Yeah, I saw, I think Pennsylvania they got 4 or 5 inches the other day because my friend was up there picking up something. He was talking about it. Will the 24 hours be on TV, says Jimmy Howard? Yeah, it'll be. I don't have the exact breakdown for it, but I know some of it starts on regular TV and I know it finishes on regular TV. But that being said, I don't know exactly where they're switching them off. You can watch the whole thing if you have IMSA TV or whatever, but they'll switch it on and off. You'll see the vast majority of it. You'll have to look it up, though. I haven't looked that one up just yet. Have you thought about who you think will make the playoffs in 2025? I do. I have it written down somewhere. I did a whole research thing, and I was going to do like the week after the season ended, I was going to do a way too early predictions or whatever. And then I didn't know what was going on with the 23-11 thing, and then the 23-11 thing drug on. So I've got it. I guess I'll probably do it preseason running up week of, which will be next week. So I guess I'll do mine next week. I can't call it. I don't know. I guess for the playoffs, you can still call it too early. So that's a fair point, but I can't call it a way too early I just have to call it a regular season prediction. I reckon. I don't necessarily do the playoffs, but I guess I can throw the playoffs in there for that one too. Have you thought about who you think will make the playoffs in 2025? I just watched Eric Estep's prediction video. How about he didn't have KFB, Brad K in the playoffs, which surprised me. Yeah, and that's the way it's going to be. You're always going to leave somebody out. Last year, I left out Ryan Blaney, and I heard it from the Ryan Blaney fan base. My buddy I work with up in Burlington, what's up, Brandon? He at least once a week he talked about you left Ryan Blaney out of your final eight or something like that. So he was upset about it, and when Ryan Blaney didn't win the title, I was like, "See, I told you he wasn't going to win the title back to back." So I did get the clap back eventually, but Blaney made me pay for it. But that's the fun of those things. You're always going to leave somebody out, and you're always going to put somebody in. Like I had Eric. What was my biggest miss? Eric Jones, I got to say, was probably my biggest miss. I had him in the playoffs, and obviously, Legacy had the worst season of all time. But they looked like they had a good season the year before, so I was expecting them to keep up the momentum. And there's always somebody like that, a team that looks like they have momentum, and they come into the next season and they lay an egg. So that's the fun of it. You never can really predict it, but you do the best you can, and then you and then you catch all the hell in the comment section. Like, oh, you left this guy out. You're an idiot. So there you go. Every day on the internet, on YouTube, I'm an idiot. So it is what it is. Meyershank Racing was the team that cheated with the air pressure, for sure. For sure. Let's see. The Vikings, and I don't necessarily think that they needed it, but it definitely didn't hurt them. The Vikings are their own curse, says old home guy. I've only won the Eagles game against the Rams. I went with the Eagles, says in between the lanes. I picked the Rams just because I thought, I don't know, I thought the NFC West was a better division than they were this year, but obviously it was not. Will Burt Myers or Tim Brown make the main event at the Clash? Burton Myers probably has the best bet. Tim Brown. I mean, I'm sorry, I had that backwards. Burt Myers probably is in the worst equipment. I'll be honest with you. Tim Brown is probably sitting in better equipment. So I would lean toward Tim Brown, and that's not a who's a better driver or anything like that. I don't know where that number 50 car is as far as equipment goes. So it's hard to say. But I know he's getting RFK. I know the Rick Ware car is going to be RFK equipment, so I know that he's at least got something to work with over there in the RFK car. So I would say Tim Brown probably has. That would have been a good poll question too. Tim Brown probably has the better shot at it, in my opinion. But then again, like I said, I've just talked about all my misses in football, so take that with a grain of salt. Who's winning your in or lose a ride situation this year? A lot of people are putting Daniel Suarez on the hot seat. I think there's a little something more to that than they're letting on. I don't know what's going on over there at Legacy. They seem to be cycling through a lot of people. It wouldn't surprise me if both of those drivers might not be on the hot seat over there at Legacy. John Hunter Nemechek, he can't keep wrecking cars like he's wrecking them, I would imagine. But I don't know. I don't know anything as far as that goes. I'm just trying to guess at who might be on the hot seat. I don't know. Those will be the only ones that just jump out at me that might be on a hot seat. Everybody always says Alex Bowman. I don't know that he's necessarily on a hot seat. He's in the last year of his contract, I think. Or did he get a multi-year extension? Alex Bowman, you always got to throw him in there just because fans talk about it. But I never know exactly, because fans talk about it all the time. So I never know exactly if he's ever actually on the hot seat, or if it's just a topic that gets talked about a lot. I don't know. Those just the first ones off the top of my head that I can think of right there. Yeah, I think everybody else is pretty much probably pretty solid where they're at. If qualifying, not how you make it in the race, does not matter, says Dave McSwain. I mean, that's a good point, especially for the Daytona 500. Like if everybody's locked in, like qualifying no longer has consequence, and that was always the fun part of the Daytona 500. The heat races mattered. Now the heat races are still fun to watch because it's Daytona, but they don't have the same the gravity to them. Like if somebody wrecks, that they're completely screwed. And that's why this is like the one race of a year. Same thing with Indy now that they're probably going to a charter system. I think the Indy 500 and I think the Daytona 500 should always have, even if you have a charter, you're not guaranteed a spot in that race just because of the event itself. Show respect to the event itself. To hell with these charters. So yeah, good point there. Lloyd Barnes, that was me that brought up the weather a few months back. Says Lloyd. Yeah, so you're on top of it. We might get a frosty one here in Winston Salem. Rockingham in February was brutal back in the day. Says Delmar Kaufman. Oh yeah, oh dude, Rockingham and Martinsville are notorious for terrible weather. So and Martinsville, good luck with that. That's basically in the mountains to the most to some extent. So uh, the weather's always going to be suspect there. That was the big thing when I lived in Boone. If you didn't like the weather, just wait 5 minutes; it would change. I think Florida is kind of like that as well. The mountains is a little more extreme though, because I remember one day I was walking in the building. It was 80 degrees. I had a t-shirt, shorts, and flip-flops on. I walked out of the building. There was snow on the ground and it was freezing and the wind was blowing. And the wind is the worst part because the wind cuts through you. I could deal with the cold. The wind cutting through you, not so much. So the mountains was a different experience. Boone, totally different now anyway. Boone's completely built up from back when I was up there, but totally different experience. Did anybody see the golf cart incident after the championship game last night? Yeah, she drove the thing straight into the wall. The coach from Ohio State, with his just for men beard, did not look none too happy there. So you got a bunch of snow. I see a lot are just a dusting. I only got 3 or 4 inches over here, so it wasn't anything crazy. But it stuck around for a long period of time, and I'm just more irritated with the salt and the brine on the road. That's probably it was never even hard to drive in because it was just powdery snow. Like there were no real road hazards or anything like that. The undercoating of my truck is more or less what I'm worried about. With what we've gotten so far, freezing rain, of course, is the worst of it. Did Craig's in your season ever end? Says one wise guy. Yeah, it finally ended. It finally ended. Let's see, about 2 or 3 races after Florence. Let's see, Cletus to stay up in the top 10 most of the race, says old home guy. Well, it's Arca, so that's one way you could do it. He's got a really fast car, so that'll help. The other thing he could do is just sort of lay in the back of the pack and let them all wreck in front of him, and then at the end of the race, just go for it. That's a strategy too. So we'll see what strategy him and the Biff come up with, and how comfortable he can get. That's going to be the biggest thing. How many laps can he get turned in that thing, and how comfortable can he get in that race car? Because just being comfortable is probably going to be the biggest deal. Getting used to Greg Biffle spotting for him, and what Greg Biffle's saying when he spots for him. That it's going to be. They need to work together a lot on that, and I'm sure they will. They know what they're doing. Greg Biffle knows what he's doing. Cletus, he's taking it pretty seriously, I think. So he's got everything in place, but the spotter communication will probably be the biggest thing there because it's more or less a spotter's race. You're just going to hold it down wide open unless you're behind somebody. Then you're going to have throttle and brake, and learn the finesse of that, or drag the brake full throttle. However you want to finesse it that way. But just listening to what the spotter says and spotter communication will probably be the biggest deal as far as that goes. Because more or less, if you wanted to, you could just let the spotter drive that. The best story about that was Kurt Shelmerdine. He used to race sportsman division in NASCAR back in the day, and he had Dale Earnhardt Sr. spotting for him. Kurt Shelmerdine was Dale Earnhardt Sr.'s crew chief back in the day. And he was running one of those select races he was running. So he let Dale Earnhardt Sr. spot for him. He said that's the best race he ever ran. It was the best feedback he ever had from a spotter. So that communication on those type of tracks can be a huge deal and a big advantage when you got a veteran, in this case, like Greg Biffle, working with Cletus. So hopefully nothing happens terrible in the race, and he can show what he can do with his team, and hopefully it all goes well for him. I had the Lions winning in a close one. Says in between the lanes, I had the Lions blowing them out. The Washington Redskins, or the Washington Commanders, had to prove that they were a good team just because they've been bad for so long, and they have officially proved to me that they are a good team. So no more betting against them. Full on believe in that team now. So let's see. I'm a Motor City Dan Campbell guy, or guy, man. Says in between the lanes. Yeah, I think he's a great coach. Feel bad for the Lions fans. I know they were super stoked about this. Camaro 50, shout out to you, my friend. He took it pretty hard. I think I thought they were going to win hands down. I was never worried about it until they just continued to lay an egg in the second half. But it is what it is. I just wish they would put the Clash at Daytona mostly. Daytona is better suited, and the weather should be better mostly. Yeah, definitely, that's a factor in it for moving it around. But there's a lot of places you can move it around since it's an exhibition race on the East Coast. That's got good weather. West Coast always has pretty good weather. Ben Johnson is Bears head coach. Says in between the lanes, minus 42-degree wind chill here this morning. Says you can keep that, my friend. F that, brother. Let's see. No snow here in the Northeast, Alabama. It's super cold. But just how Gulf Shores and Auburn is covered in snow. Yeah, for sure. I'm not super familiar with the old Gulf Coast down there. Let's see, weather-wise, I should say. I've been watching a lot of 2007, 2009 races lately, and holy cow, ESPN was not good. Tim Brewer and the garage cutaway car was super annoying. Says OJ and Toothpaste. Yeah, some of those things that people I like. I'll go ahead and say I like Tim Brewer being the analyst guy, but he was definitely a certain acquired taste. But a lot of people fondly remembering how certain races were called back in the day. Not necessarily when you go back and look at them, do they hold up as well? The older something gets, those rose-colored glasses get more rosy and rosy. But I will say this, Bob Jenkins, when he was in the booth for ESPN, it was always good there. Jerry Punch was always good. So it just depends on the race. Depends on the race and the coverage. Eric was like, okay, average there, 3.3 average. Surprise winners this year. He picked SVG, McDowell, and AJ making it in as his surprise picks. I like his thought process there. And I think two of those three probably can win a surprise race. I'm not necessarily going to pick which one I think it'll be. That being said, I don't know if I would pick all three. So he is getting aggressive with it, but I like his scatter plot of getting a road course racer in there. Not a bad strategy for a preseason pick. Let's see. Refs will win the Super Bowl, says Mark Barnum. Yeah, they're giving the Chiefs crap about the refs, myself included. Nothing against the Chiefs, but the NFL needs to clean up the refereeing quite a bit. It can't be that one-sided. Jaden Daniels in the Super Bowl, and I don't even have a dog in the fight. My team didn't even make the playoffs, so I've just been watching, and the Chiefs got a few calls there. We officially have flopping in football now, and Patrick Mahomes trying to get those calls and then doing all the shenanigans with sliding late. We got to start swallowing the flags on that type of stuff. You can't keep giving him 15 yards every time he runs because he wants to wait to the last minute to slide. Jaden Daniels in the Super Bowl as a rookie would be wild, but I see the Eagles winning, says OJ and Toothpaste. And when was it Dan Marino? Was Dan Marino a rookie when they went to the Super Bowl? I think he was the last one. I'm looking it up right now. Wikipedia never lies, so we'll go with that. Let's see here. Pittsburgh quarterback Dan Marino also had a race car, by the way, number 13. I can't remember. I think Jerry Nadeau drove it, maybe. I might be wrong about that. Let's see. 1983. Nope. He was a second-year man. So 1984, they went to the Super Bowl. So he was not a rookie. I can't remember the last time or if it's ever happened that a rookie went to the Super Bowl. So there you go. NFC North is what the NFC used to be, says one wise guy. Larry Mack said on his show that he thinks Corey LaJoie will be in the number 15 Rick Ware car for the Daytona 500. Then later on in the show, he said he visited the shop at Rick Ware Racing the day prior, says Dirty Death. That's interesting. That's definitely interesting. So we'll see who's in the 51. Let's see. Just a dusting for me and OJ here in the North Carolina. Just a dusting for me, OJ, here in North Carolina, says Jamie Schweitzer. What's up, everybody, says Lovey Barkley. Short tracks for the Clash is very cool, in my opinion, says Jesse. I agree. I think they should do short tracks, and like I said, every other year or so, or just put it on a rotation X amount of years, and you have Daytona in there. That way you always keep it special regardless of where it's at. Highest prediction for Cup and Xfinity, says Old Home Guy. I think Xfinity, they'll do good. And I think they're going to surprise a lot of people in the Cup Series. I don't think they're going to be a lot of people remember the single car Haas team not being competitive. I think they've moved beyond that now, especially with the help from RFK. I think they're going to be a really good team, and I believe in Cole Custer. I think Cole Custer is a good race car driver. So I do expect them to run fairly competitively. I expect them to challenge to get into the playoffs. That would be my prediction for them, challenging to get into the playoffs. Jamie Schweitzer, that's crazy. You have some snow at least. I have had absolutely none here in my town in California this year, and we usually have a good snowstorm. Says OJ and Toothpaste. Aloha, BB. What's up, Dennis Gillespie? Aloha to the big or small islands, wherever you at over there, my friend. Hi, OJ, says Lovey. What's up, Lovey? Says one wise guy. Wise guy. What's up, Lovey Bark? What's up, wise guy? Says Lovey. Lloyd Barnes, I do not like the tiny tracks like Bowman Gray or the LA Coliseum where you're putting 40 cars on a high school track and field size track. That's just too small. I would agree with you, but it's only 20. It's only 23 cars, and as long as it's an exhibition and not a points race, I think they can get away with it. And if they can figure out how to make it as entertaining as the Madhouse usually makes their races, you might have something to promote the sport to other fans. But that being said, to your point, when those other fans come and look at the other races, if they like the Bowman Gray style race, then they're not going to see another race like that until next year's Clash, because really there's no other track like that on the roster there after Bowman Gray. They are starting 23 cars at Bowman Gray. It'll be fine, says Jesse. Hello, Lovey, says OJ and Toothpaste. So the Clash at Bowman Gray this year, says Krusty. It is. Cletus bought another track. Says in between lanes. I saw where he partnered with somebody, but I didn't know if it was old or new. I thought they were talking about the old track that he bought. So he's got a second track now. So good on him, man. He's who is the there's a Copart. He's competing with Copart to buy racetracks. Copart's buying all the old racetracks and making them junkyards. Used to be a NASCAR sponsor. So that's one of those weird oddities that goes on there. NASCAR said Tubi will only be reruns, says Lloyd Barnes. Yeah, but they're going to have a lot of other content that's just for Tubi too, for sure. Coach Gibbs, and I think they're gonna have some ARCA races or something like that on there as well. So we'll see. But yeah, for the Cup Series, for all the touring series, it'll be reruns and stuff like that, which you can also watch on YouTube. You can watch the reruns on YouTube as well. So they've been doing that. Coach Gibbs was at the game Saturday. Says in between the lanes, John P. Hey, BB, I was getting a few Coney dogs from Sonic a few nights ago, misjudged the bumper and smashed into the ordering station. I ate Coney dogs while waiting for the police, and my bubble gut started. Well, hopefully when the officer arrived, you offered him a beverage and a Coney dog as well to sort of ease the ticket that you were getting there. Pro tip, Lloyd Barnes, I like small tracks, but not tiny ones with zero passing for the lead. Yeah, that has more to do with the car itself, I would say, than the track itself. So that, to me, is a NASCAR car issue. Hopefully they can get that figured out. You see the same thing at Martinsville from time to time. The tires have too much grip, and even when you ram into somebody, they don't move. Although the tire fall off has gotten better. So hopefully they bring a lot of tire fall off for this race. And when you hit somebody, they actually move. Aaron Glenn might be the next New York Jets head coach, says in between the lanes. Lions losing their offensive coordinator to the Raiders. I did see that. And whenever you have a good season or something like that, you're always going to lose some assistant head coaches. That's part of the game, unfortunately. I'm in South Carolina and the beach is white, says Lovey Barkley. Mark, he went to the Bears. Okay, says Mark Barnum. Ryan Priest passed from 14th to the lead at LA last year. The flat tracks are not as exciting, but the grassroots style racing is, says Jesse. Great channel, says Jungle Bob Repair. Appreciate you, Jungle Bob. And thanks for tuning in and with the words of encouragement. Benny Parsons was good in the booth also, for sure. He was a TNN or a TNT. He was a TNT guy, I want to say. Hey, buddy, you watching the Bowman Gray documentary? This coming Monday, we're going to be in the story they featured on us. Says Danny Gray and Cards. So that's pretty cool, man. That's going to be fun to see. So we're going to tune in and see if we can find you in that one. I had the Ravens over the Bills, says in between the lanes. Let's see. I didn't. I actually had I did pick the Bills to beat the Ravens, but that was the one that I felt less confident about, and that's the only one that I actually got right. My surprise winner, and this definitely a long shot, but I see Eric Jones back in victory lane this year. I'm enjoying all this talk about my Washington Redskins. So Ryan still calling them the Redskins over there. Controversial. They've had like they're the Washington football team, and then they were now they're the Commanders. So a lot of controversy over the name. I'm staying out of it. Let's see. You guys don't know about Talladega in the 70s. I'm 56 and I've seen it all, says Jungle Bob Repair. I don't know about Talladega in the 70s, but I remember the tire wars. I don't know if that was the late 60s or the 70s, where I think Talladega was where the Firestone uh, Goodyear deal. I guess they drew a line in the sand there, where Dave Marcus famously became a Goodyear man on that day, or was always a Goodyear man, became more synonymous with it that day. Something like that. As a Bama fan, I'm pulling for the Eagles because of Devontae Smith and Jalen Hurts, but I think the Commanders may just be so hot that they can pull another upset. That's part of it, getting hot at the right time. Is there another room in front of the main grandstand at Daytona to put a short track? Says Brickyard Brickhead. I don't know about that. I think they've got like a dirt track or something around there. I can't remember. Happy start of the racing season, everyone. Wanted to vote always at Daytona, but I have an asterisk. I put it on the super stretch track. Says Cody Ledger. My sister said it snowed in Florida today. Yeah, I did see that. The Florida man on Instagram, he posted that. Stone Cold Cole Custer was at the Chiefs game. So yeah, Cole Custer, a Chiefs man. Didn't know that. That was, or at least for that game, he was. That was interesting. You remember the Mexico City finish when Juan Pablo took out his teammate Scott Pruitt? Well, I do remember that with 5 laps to go. Scott was super pissed, says OJ and Tooth. As well he should be, but also I understand where Juan Pablo Montoya was coming from. He wanted to win that race in a Spanish speaking, although he was from Colombia, he wanted to win the race in a Spanish speaking part of the world. Pretty bad, I would imagine. Who's going to be a surprise team in Xfinity? RSS with Ryan Sieg would be great. Example for a surprise team in 2024. I'll ride with that one. I think you see Colleague. I think you see Colleague rebound. I don't know it'll necessarily be a surprise team, but I think you'll see them rebound and have a good season. BB, I'm not a fan of snow, but I know the sports pope, Mike Francesa, loves to use his snowblower, says in between the lanes. Had Texans over the Chiefs, says in between the lanes. Lake Superior has ice races, maybe have the Clash there. That would be pretty wild. NASCAR was going to try an ice race in Scandinavia somewhere. I can't remember the actual. NASCAR Europe was going to try an ice race. I don't know if they ever got that done or not, though. It's a drag racing track for Cletus, says in between the lanes. It's just so great that at Talladega, because you can short track race too, says Jungle Bob. Let's see. I watch auto auctions rebuild, and he goes to Copart to buy cars and fix them up, says in between the lanes. Then he losing FedEx, and now Mavis. Do you think he has to worry at Gibbs, almost getting to the point where they couldn't afford him, like what happened with KFB? I think he has the highest salary in Cup. The thing with Denny and Coach Gibbs, they have some like father-son bond going on. So outside looking in, I feel like Denny is safe as long as he wants to race there. Coach will find a way for him to race. I feel like Denny will find a way for himself to race there for as long as he wants to as well. So I think Denny's just in a different situation. Is it fair? Is it right? Who knows? Like I said, I'm on the outside looking in, but I just feel like Denny was always in a different situation than Kyle Busch. But that's just a feeling I get. I don't know. I can't explain it. Let's see. Cletus's neighbor, Dragster. Denny and Coach Gibbs literally used to live beside each other, so it's a pretty good relationship. I don't think that you'll ever see them part ways, but who knows? I could be wrong. Have been wrong before. Cletus's neighborhood drag strip, Braden Motorsports Park, will share staffing. Who do you like, Oreo Cakesters or the original Oreos? I have to go with the original Oreos. TNT for Benny Parsons. Appreciate you there, Jungle Bob. It airs on Monday, January 27th, 7 p.m. Eastern on FS1. Appreciate you there, Danny Gray. Danny and Gray's Cards and Toys. Talking about the documentary on the Madhouse. So we'll check that one out for sure. Or Bowman Gray, I should say. It's going to be the documentary on Bowman Gray. I will definitely tune into that. Bowman Gray is the same age or a year or two older than my home track, Riverhead Raceway on Long Island, New York, says Jesse. Riverhead Raceway, I feel like a lot of people are thinking that's going to get a lot of coverage on door bumper clear, given who they have as the new host there for next season. So you might be hearing quite a bit about that one as well. How much will the cold weather affect tire fall off? It usually doesn't hurt. It usually makes them last longer because they don't get as hot. Wasn't the problem with the tires at Bristol? It was too cold to put rubber down, so they were shredding. So yeah, that's the concern, I would say. That's right. It was the Hoosiers, says Jungle Bob, talking about the Talladega tire deal with when Dave Marcus sort of became famous in Talladega in the 70s. I think Kyle Weatherman was at the Chiefs game as well. Kyle Weatherman, of course, in the mighty triumvirate of Kyles that race in the the NASCAR Touring Series. Let's see. Dirty Death. Hamlin is paid more annually than reigning Cup champion Joey Logano or quintuple or quad. Oh, is it 4 or 5 now? I can't remember. I think it's 4. Kyle Sieg, Kyle Weatherman, Kyle Busch, Kyle Larson. So there you go. The mighty 4. Dirty Death, the mighty quad. Let's see. Hamlin is paid more annually than reigning Cup champion Joey Logano. I know that anyway, says Jamie Schweitzer. BB, Kyle Larson, Bubba Wallace, Daniel Suarez, Ryan Preece, Denny Hamlin, Ed Bowman Gray. What do you think? Bubba Wallace has the most experience, other than probably Denny Hamlin. Southampton is pretty flat track. Ryan Preece, a modified guy, tons of experience. Kyle Larson, I'm not seeing him love a track like that, but he's Kyle Larson, so you can't count him out. Daniel Suarez is a really good finesse driver. I don't know, man. They're all pretty good picks. I would say Denny Hamlin has the most experience. Ryan Preece probably has the second most experience. And then I would probably go Bubba Wallace, next amount of experience, and then Kyle Larson, and then Daniel Suarez. If you had me rate them just on experience, but it's a track that they technically have never seen before, although it will be very similar, if not very basically identical to the LA Coliseum. So I guess you can go off those statistics if you really wanted to pull some statistics. Go Bills. They are going to beat KFC and finally win a Super Bowl, says Bruce Reed. I hope so. I am, of the teams remaining, I'm pulling for the Buffalo Bills. Go Bills. Let's see. Denny Hamlin was at the championship game last night, says in between the lanes. Oh yeah, he is rolling with the Ohio State Buckeyes, so he got him a championship with the team he was rolling with. Expectations for RCR this season, says one wise guy. I think they'll bounce back. I think they're going to have a good season. I'm not as concerned as other people are about it, but we'll see. We will see. Do you think if Junior Motorsports does good in the 500, they will move up? Oh, that's a big ask. I'm just hoping they make the race like that. I'm just hoping they make the race for sure. I got a super chat from Jamie Schweitzer. Appreciate you, my friend. I say we see the new Chevy Malibu SS for the next Cup car. Says Jamie Schweitzer. It might. We might see that. I think that they have discontinued making the Chevrolet Malibu, but that doesn't mean they're not going to make the Malibu SS. They have talked about bringing the Camaro back as all electric. That's been met with a lot of scrutiny. A lot of people don't like that, but I don't know. I have no idea what the body will be. Will it be the Monte Carlo? Will it be the Impala? I don't know what they'll bring back. Monte Carlo at one point was the winningest nameplate, so I could see them bringing back the Monte Carlo to get some more wins under a nameplate. Maybe they're losing ground to the Toyota Camry at this point and want to gain some ground there. If Denny Hamlin does get the boot, whenever that is, that development driver, a veteran, you see replacing him at Joe Gibbs Racing. At some point, Toyota has got to promote Corey Haim, I would imagine. So that's the first one that jumps to my mind that I would put in there. Depending on when it happens, depending on how good he develops as a driver, Max Reeves is a name you have to throw out there, even though he's just racing late models right now. Max Reeves has a ton of funding, So you could see a situation where they stick a Max Reeves in that car just because of who he is, as long as he does good enough in Xfinity and wherever else, because I'm pretty sure he's going to skip the truck series a la Ty Gibbs. So run some ARCA, get him into the Xfinity series, and as long as he doesn't embarrass himself in the Xfinity series, when if it's enough time passing before Denny Hamlin retires, you could definitely see Max Reeves be that guy. I say that because they've got Bobby Labonte coaching him. He's racing for Sellers, so we're beside him like every weekend. He's got Bobby Labonte coaching him, so he's obviously getting a ton of effort and stuff put behind him already for Joe Gibbs Racing. They've got this massive contract with him already. So uh, if it's not Corey Heim, it just depends on when Denny's going to retire, right? And how far along he's moved up. But Max Reeves, I feel like, would be the next in line if they don't go with Corey Heim, depending on when Denny Hamlin retires. So there's a lot of speculation there. Freddie Kraft is from Long Island, says in between the lanes. AJ said that he doesn't think that he'll run any Xfinity races this season. But if that happens, I don't see Colleague winning a road course race this year. A lot of pressure on Christian Eckes at ovals, says Dirty Death. We'll see. We'll see if AJ doesn't maybe change his mind a little bit later. We'll see. I feel like I'm the only one here that wants the Chiefs and my homeboy to win on Sunday, says OJ and Toothpaste. I don't have anything against the Chiefs. I just don't like the way that the referees officiate them, and that's not the Chiefs' fault. That's an NFL problem. But they've it's just like anything else. They've won enough. I want to see somebody different win. So that's that. So it's Tommy Baldwin, both Riverhead legends, says Jesse. And that's what I was talking about. Those two are probably going to talk about Riverhead quite a bit on DBC. In the late 90s, I helped on the tow truck at Talladega, says Aaron Flynn. That's pretty cool. That's a pretty cool deal. You were busy, I'm sure. Who's going to race the Carl Long car? At the Clash, it's going to be Garrett Smithley. I don't know that they've announced anybody just yet for Daytona, or if they have anybody yet for Daytona. Jesse Bishel, I'm from Long Island as well. Says in between the lanes, is Suarez on the last leg of his contract? Says one wise guy. I think this is the last year on his contract, but we'll see. It's a long season. Hard to make predictions because anything can happen. So we'll see what happens. I think Hendrick could put their Xfinity car in there between Zilich and SVG. Junior Motorsports may go 7 for 7 on road courses, but they would need some luck. For sure. I don't disagree with that. Maybe I'll see you at the track. Maybe one day we can get a clash at Riverhead. You never know. If the track has enough hype behind it, I wouldn't put it past NASCAR to try something there. I fully expect at some point for there to be a dirt race at one of the dirt tracks for the Clash. I could see that happening for sure. This would be a good time to push that dirt deal at an actual dirt track so dirt fans can show up and show out. I saw Kyle Busch with Cynics on one of his suits. Yeah, Cynics is back for sure. I think they did. I don't think they did a full reveal of the car, but I think they did it. I think I saw on Austin Dillon or RCR's Instagram page a reference to Austin Dillon driving a Cynics car next year as well. But I don't think they've showed the full car just yet. But I feel like it's pretty close because I think they've already advertised for it. Maybe he's been vacationing in the Hamptons, says Jesse. Jesse, that would be something if that happens. I saw. Thanks again for all you do on these streams. No problem, Lloyd. Appreciate you tuning in because these are more about you, you guys providing the questions and the comments here for sure. So much shout out to you guys as well. BB, will IndyCar on Fox be as terrible as NASCAR on Fox? Also, Whopper, says Levy Barkley. Let's see. I think they'll do a good job with IndyCar because it's a new thing and they're going to do their best with it. So I'm sure they'll do. It's like anything else. They'll do a good job on it for the first 3 years trying to build an audience, and then they'll work on something else. It's cyclical where they move their efforts to. I think Kelly and Dale are about to kick some tail, says Jungle Bob Repair. I think it'll be a fast car. I mean, it's just a Hendrick car, and their logo slapping on it. But I feel like they got the right driver to do good things at Daytona. How about me and a couple other people on Iceberg's Q&A stream last week? Brought your name up as a potential guest for the NASCAR Weekly Podcast, and Jarris acknowledged it and said he would like to have you back on the show, says Dirty Death. I mean, I will do their show whenever, as long as, I don't have something going on, which I doubt I would on a Wednesday night. But yeah, those guys are cool, super cool. But they do their thing. So let's not try to program their show for them. But yeah, they know if they reach out that I'll jump on there whenever. That Allgaier number 40 Cup diecast car. I appreciate y'all showing the love in the chat. Much appreciated as always. Do you think there's a lot of pressure on Sammy Smith this year just because of the 8 font? I don't know. People get weird about numbers. I'm not one of the people that gets weird about numbers. Other than I'm glad that they actually put the font on the car, like because it's always good to see it because you can, tell a younger generation that never saw that driver drive, hey, this number is special because, i.e., the 43, the 3, the 28, if they would ever bring it back. The 28 is the antithesis of that. You can't tell anybody about Davey Allison's number being special because they don't run it anymore. So I've done a whole, I think I've done a whole spiel about that before. That Algar number 40 Cup diecast is going to be tough to find. Sold out on Racing USA's website. Oh, they'll make plenty of them. You'll find them. Don't worry. And people will mark them up or mark them down depending on how well they run. It is a good looking car though. They did a really good job with the Traveler whiskey brand there. I just believe they're ready and let the cousins back. Says Jungle Bob. It's hard to believe that AJ won't run an Xfinity car for the Mexico race. I agree. I bet you get several Cup drivers in that race. I think so too. How many wins will Connor Zilich get this year? I'll say I'm going to go right at 3, maybe 4. I feel like that's a fair estimate. I'll tell you what. I'll go over 3. I'll go over 3. Pick a side there. I'll go over 3. BB, you think 2311's lawsuit with NASCAR has strained Hamlin and Joe Gibbs' business or friendship at all? I don't think so. I don't think it's really strained anything. It's hurt NASCAR's feelings a little bit, but I don't think it's really hurt anybody else's relationship with them. I don't know. I didn't know Mavis was leaving the 11. Yep, they're leaving. Are they leaving the sport completely or moving to another team? They're leaving the sport completely. From what I understand, would Toyota prefer? I'll have to go back and look at the article though, so I'm saying that off the top of my head. Would Toyota prefer Hamlin not suing NASCAR? Also, BB, I don't know. Toyota and Chevrolet and Ford have bigger things to worry about right now than NASCAR. The Korean motor companies that are making cars, Kia and Hyundai, whatever you want to call it, they're gaining significant ground in the automotive market. So they've got bigger fish to fry right now. If I'm guessing about OEMs, let's see. The number 40 is going to kick butt because they've got money, says Jungle Bob. And Fox did a terrible job by making the Cup and Indy races overlap while NASCAR on FS1 and Indy is on Fox. I'm going to have to turn into a remote gymnast the way I'm going to flip channels, says Lovey. Good candidates for the Clash can be Sobo, New Smyrna, Charlotte Dirt, maybe Orange County Speedway in Cali. It would be cool to see them go to local short tracks and back to Daytona every few years, says Jesse. The only reason I brought your name up is he asked the chat who you would want to see as potential guest this upcoming season. I appreciate it, my man. Like I said, I definitely will go on there if they ask me. No doubt about it. Really cool guys for sure. They got a good crew chief too. Greg Ives is very experienced and knows how to win, says Lloyd Barnes. I do like the crew chief selection. I think that's a good strong point for sure. Definitely on my diecast list, BB, that Algar 40 Cup car and the 124, of course, as well. Jungle Bob, we're going to win the 500. He's got a good car. So, I mean, it just depends on how everything shakes out. If he can miss, he's got a fast enough car. If he can miss all the wrecks, he'll be up there for sure. He's not scared. We know that. Connor Zilich, I get him 2 wins. I'll give him 2 wins, says Lloyd Barnes. In the NASCAR team, BB, and your driver is injured, who is your fill-in driver? Okay, so if it's Toyota, I'm going with Corey Heim. If it's a Ford, who does Ford have? If it's a Ford and I need it for one race, I'm going with Ryan Sieg. If it's multi races and you're trying to get him up to the series and show what he can do, I'll probably go with Lane Riggs there. If it's a Ford, and if it's Chevrolet, I'm going with Sammy Smith. So yeah, I'll go with Connor Zilich, but Connor Zilich, we already know probably where he's going. So Connor Zilich or Sammy Smith if it's a Chevrolet. We'll see. It's funny that I'm already like putting Connor Zilich in the in the Cup series because it's just pretty obvious what's going to happen there. Let's see. Hamlin ran well in that Mavis Tires Toyota Camry XSE. I saw him win Dover in those colors. Yeah, I feel like he won a bunch of races with them. So it's one of those interesting deals where they're leaving. I bet Connor could get more than 2 wins. That kid is quite well rounded. Yeah, I went over 3 with my pick there, Charlotte. So yeah, I'm with you on that one. Charlotte's on team over 3. Not getting political at all, but I did see where Trump cut the EV mandate in an executive order today, which I don't know how that is going to impact the car industry. Yeah, it'll be really interesting to see how that all falls because I think California is still going to hold theirs in. So I don't know. It's all that's above my head, but we'll see. We'll see if the wheels fall off the electric train or if they continue to gain steam, at least with the OEMs. OEMs have almost put themselves out of business with all these electric cars that they're doing. But the only reason they're making the electric cars is because they have this mandate to get emissions to an X amount. It gets complicated. I'm not the best to explain it, but we'll see. We'll see how it plays out. Dale Jr. van coach the driver and provide the equipment. Says Jungle Bob. No early predictions for who wins the Clash, says Jamie Schweitzer. I mean, Joey Logano or Tyler Reddick. And let's see, who would I pick? I'll go with Kyle Busch if it's a Chevrolet driver. It just depends on what cars run good there or whatever. So those would be my 3 picks off the top of my head. Have you talked to the have you talked the 40 to death already? Do we know if it's the 5th HMS car or is it really JRM's entry into HMS engineering info? Says Charlotte. I don't think there's a whole lot more to it than it's just them sort of dipping their toe into seeing sort of the expenses of what it would be to run a cup schedule. Basically without a charter to see what the finances of that would look like. I think that has a lot to do with it, but they've said that they wouldn't mind doing a few more one-offs like this as long as the partner is the right thing. So what they've said publicly is just that. Obviously, with all of his connections, he's probably trying to figure out a way to go cup racing, but he's also said numerous times he feel like that door is closing or has already closed. So I think the best we can, if you want to see him go to cup, which I feel like most people do, I think the best that you can hope for in that situation is probably some more of these one-off type races. I don't know that we'll ever see a full. I don't know if we'll ever see a full schedule, but that's all going to be dependent on the charter situation and how that falls out. Let's see. It's a JRM engine with HMS engine. It's a JRM car with a HM. It's a completely Hendrick deal. It's all the way Hendrick, all the way Hendrick. Let's see. It's a Hendrick car with a Hendrick engine, and they're preparing it with assistance from Hendrick at the JRM shop. If Suarez gets the boot, unfortunately, I hope not, but I think he will. Where will he end up at? That's a great question. That's a great question because I feel like he brings sponsorship with him. I feel like he's a solid driver, and I do feel like he'll land somewhere. Where he lands, I don't know. I couldn't rightly tell you. How many wins for our driver Chase Briscoe as off-season testing might be coming to an end for us, BB? I don't know. Briscoe, I'm gonna give Briscoe 1 to 2 wins. I don't think he'll go over 2, but then again, like I said, I've been wrong before, so I don't know. I'm not an EV hater, but I think it should just be an option for everyone, not forced to take it. Says Dirty Duff. Yeah, and obviously this is as bad as EVs will ever be, but they do need to improve EVs. EVs have some glaring problems. Least of which is the power grid to power them. So I'm with you. I'm not an EV hater either, but they do. If it's going to be your main car, they need to have some significant improvements. The biggest of which is charging stations. Ironically, in some bigger cities like New York City doesn't have anywhere to charge them. So some significant challenges, but that's the first one they need to figure out is where to put all the charging stations and have where they're going to get the power for those charging stations. Almost about Logano, Bowman Gray isn't technically new, but we haven't run there recently, so Logano might win the Clash again. Indeed, he's got a pretty good record at first-time visits to a track. I mean, JRM's entry to Dale and Kelly. get to take it home versus being an HMS car that goes back to HMS inventory. Yeah, but I mean, to be honest, I feel like it's such a tight alliance. But yeah, they'll definitely be able to keep the car. If nothing else, they'll be able to keep the shell of the car. But yeah, I think they'll keep the car for sure. It'll be an in-house car, and I'm sure they'll study it and learn as much about it as they can. And I'm pretty sure Rick Hendrick's cool with that. I don't think he really cares. Shane Gillis's uncle, Danny, makes grilled cheese at night. BB says in between the lanes. Hiya, fellas and ladies. What's up, BB? What's up, Roofer? Good to see you on here, my friend. I predict one win for Briscoe this year. I don't know where, but somewhere. Earth 2, I thought he got 8 wins since they race every day, even on Christmas, says OJ and Toothpaste. Do you think Ty Gibbs gets a win this season? I do think Ty Gibbs gets a win this season, excluding the All-Star race. OJ, how many wins does JJ Yaley have on Earth 2? Quite a few. Quite a few, Lovey. Imagine if NASCAR had an expansion charter with 4 new charters and they had an expansion draft like other sports. Who would each team have as their franchise driver? That's interesting. That's interesting. It's a good question, and I think that would put a lot of people in the decision because you got some teams with some awesome veterans, but you've also got some young guys there with a lot of potential. So that would put a lot of people at a serious decision. Least of which would be Hendrick. Imagine a draft and you've got to pick between Chase Elliott, William Byron, and Kyle Larson. Good luck. Flip a coin. Lovey Barkley, JJ Yaley has 89 wins and 3 championships, just barely behind BJ McLeod there. Let's say and a Ty Dillon. One wise guy. I don't think Ty will win this year or next. I wish him luck though, says Jamie Schweitzer. In an MBM car, says OJ and Toothpaste. Do you think the appeal for Honda coming into NASCAR is they sell more cars on the road than Chevy or Ford? I just think they're trying to compete in the American market for cars since the Americans don't sell cars anymore, to be totally honest with you. So I think they see it as a viable option to sell more cars. And I think that's one of the reasons that they're thinking about getting into NASCAR. Whether they do it or not, it remains to be seen. But I think that's part of it. They're trying to stave off Kia and Hyundai, just like everybody else right now. Does Chase Briscoe or Ty or our Lord and Savior give us get more wins this year? You know what? The logical pick would be to say Chase Briscoe is going to get more wins. I'm going to go with Ty Gibbs gets more wins than Chase Briscoe. Lovey Barkley, true Hall of Famer. I watched the Pat McAfee broadcast of the championship game last night. It says in between the lanes. If NASCAR had an NFL type draft, Larson's the number 1 pick. Seabell would be number 2 for sure, says OJ and Toothpaste. Let's see. My business that I run, I do collision repair on new cars, all manufacturers, 2025 models. All of them are smart, says Aaron Flynn. Yeah, they're of the cars I've worked on, I'll say this. Toyota and Honda are the easier of the cars to work on. Chevrolet makes it about as difficult to work on a vehicle as I've ever seen in my entire life. They're an absolute nightmare to work on. And I've got a Chevrolet Silverado sitting out there. I used to work at Ford, so we're just going to shelf that one because I've seen if you work at a dealership, you see so many cars come in that eventually you get it in your head that they're all pieces of shit. So like that's just part of working at a dealership. So we're just going to exclude Ford. You can make your own assumptions and predictions about Fords. They have a lot, in my opinion, they have a lot of electrical problems, just stuff that doesn't even matter. Like, so me personally, I don't want to replace a window switch every freaking 4 weeks or something like that. At least on the Fords I was working on back in the 1800s. So I'll leave them off the list, but I would say probably Honda and Toyota are the easier of the cars to work on that I've worked on. So yeah, there's that. But yeah, they're all pretty wired in. If the wrong thing gets hot at the wrong time, it's a steaming pile of automotive art. We'll put it that way. Any predictions for Cody Ware this season? He said Rick Ware with him because of how well he performed last year. I mean, I hope he runs well. He's just going to catch it either way. If he doesn't run well, they're going to be like, Dad put his son in the car and he doesn't deserve to be there, and they're going to act like like they want their favorite driver to drive for Rick Ware Racing, which is a joke. It's just one of those things. NASCAR fans aren't going to be happy with that deal one way or the other. If their favorite drivers over there, they're going to complain that the equipment isn't good enough, and that's why he's not winning. Rick Ware Racing's just in a tough spot. More wins, Briscoe or SVG, says Dirty Duff. Uh, I'll say tie. I think they're going to tie. I think they're both going to get one win, so I'll say a tie. I like Barstool Gruden, John Gruden. Have you ever listened to the Shred Line with John Gruden? I've seen some clips from it on Instagram, but I can't say that I've seen much beyond that. If NASCAR drivers played football, BJ McLeod and Ryan Newman would be crazy linemen, says Lovey Barkley. Ryan Newman's kind of shaped like a linebacker, so I could see him being a linebacker. Let's see. Don't work on Volkswagen. Oh, Volkswagens are terrible, bro. I've never messed with a Land Rover, but I've heard they're a nightmare too. Volkswagens are awful, 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 awful. If you get a certain year a German car, they wrapped all their electronics in this. The shrink wrap they used was biodegradable because they were trying to be green. And once that shrink wrap biodegrades while the car is still old or whatever, you have all kinds of electrical problems. I don't know if they still use that, but there was a certain range of years I know for sure where they use that. Uh, and those cars are pieces of crap. Like they have a lot of electrical problems, and a lot of them are obviously Volkswagen because I think Volkswagen sells the most cars out of the German manufacturers. I think they still sell some of the most cars worldwide. I definitely I think the Golf or something like that is one of the number one cars worldwide. Dodge, oh yeah, Dodge has a lot of electrical problems for sure. I know that. I've had some buddies that had Dodge trucks. A lot of the Dodge trucks have electrical issues. I worked at a dealership as a summer job while I was in college. Isn't there a car brand that the starter is under the intake? That would be Ford. Old home guy. I think it's the Ford. Oh, what is that thing called? It's the smaller SUV. I've seen some of the mechanics online complaining about it. Ford. I think it's the Ford Edge. What's this thing? The Ford EcoSport. It's the Ford EcoSport. It's got this. If I'm not mistaken, I think that motor has the starter up underneath the intake, and mechanics are not happy about that at all. And there's something about the water pump. There's some weird thing going on with the water pump too on those, if I'm not mistaken. I might have the wrong car. I know one of them has a weird water pump issue where it's in a weird spot or something. I don't know. I don't know. I can't call it off the top of my head. I drive a Ford Transit at work, and it's definitely a downgrade from the Scion XB XD that we had prior. Says Dirty Death. Those Scions are pretty good, man. They didn't have anything stupid on them that could really go wrong. They were as stripped down a version as you could get. If you want to get the best version of a vehicle, always, I know everybody wants all the luxury items and stuff. The best version of a vehicle though is the one with the least amount of electronics on it. Get the work if you're buying a truck, get the work truck version. It's cheaper and it's probably going to last you longer. Don't buy a Chevrolet because they still make shitty lifters. They're going to get a class action lawsuit on it eventually if it's not already happened. And the lifter's going bad. It's not a good deal. Yes, I drive one. But yeah, get get the lowest. I know a lot of people don't want to hear this. Get the lowest version of the car you can get with the least amount of features, and it'll last you a longer time. If you plan on driving it for a long time, that would be my recommendation to you. And if it comes with a manual transmission, get the manual transmission because the manual transmissions last typically a lot longer than the automatics. Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep suck too. I agree. One wise guy, at least right now in modern times, says OJ and toothpaste. By the way, Chevrolet, feel free to sponsor me. Now that I've told everybody your lifters are shitty. Let's see. Dodge, Jeep, Chrysler suck too. I agree with one wise guy, at least right now in the modern times. The only exception on the Dodge deal I'll say is if you get the Dodge with the Cummins, those jokers will run forever. So if you get the Dodge truck with the Cummins diesel, Those things typically run forever. I ate dinner with your dad twice at Rainbow City, says Jungle Bob Repair. Worst race where Kenza took Joey out, I'd say OJ. I think I missed something here. Let's see. Nope, I didn't. Let's see. BB, what's your favorite luxury car? The Lexus GX 400 because it's basically a Toyota Land Cruiser, and they last for a really long time. So that would be if I got a luxury brand, I would get a Lexus GX four whatever the GXs are, because they're basically just Land Cruisers. Let's see. Just got done building a snowman on the beach. Says T4R. Hey, there you go. That's pretty cool. Let's see. Lake Logan Martin says Jungle Bob Repair. They towed my Transit yesterday because as soon as I put it in drive, the temperature gauge went all the way to hit and shut down. You can crank it and it's fine until you put it in gear. That's interesting. It's either a thermostat or a head gasket. Thermostat is a cheap fix. Head gasket, not so much. Speaking of cars that are typically reliable, Toyota has a history with their Priuses. Not the first batch of Priuses, or the first, I think it's the third and fourth gen of the Prius. The head gasket blows a lot, and everybody's got all these theories on how to fix it. But actually they made these really thin piston rings on them, and so if they blow the head gaskets, and all these people that tell you all these things to do to them, you're not going to save it. They made the piston rings too thin, trying to get maximum efficiency. So even Toyota, known for its reliability, has a swing and a miss every once in a while. I don't run a dealership, just fix the collision repair on all, says Aaron Flynn. Water pump is in the timing cover, says Old Home Guy. That's it. That's I think it's on that same car, if I'm not mistaken, on the Ford EcoSport, and I think the Ford Escape, maybe. I might be wrong about that. I know for sure they got it like that on the EcoSport, or the EcoSport's got something going on with it. Neil 2, Close Island, says Jungle Bob Repair. About the Parker Retzlaff treatment, says T4 to all. But he's back with Chevrolet, so I don't know. I think the media kind of made a little bit bigger deal about that than it actually was. Neil deGrasse Tyson would be great for a cutaway car, says Lovey Barkley. Yeah, he would break it all the way down. This came from a red giant. Let's see. Sounds like I'm pulling for RFK this year, says Aaron Flynn. I love my Toyota Tundra 2017. Not a lot of electronic flash, but super reliable so far. I also agree Dodge Cummins are bulletproof for the most part, says OJ and Toothpaste. For sure. GX 550 now, says Waltrip Flair. Yeah, the newer ones, well, they've got like two engine options. I think it's the V6 on the newer ones, because they've got like a hybrid system, inline 4 hybrid system on the new GX 550. Get the one with the V6. Stay away from the hybrid. They don't have that figured out yet. The V6 is going to last you longer on the new GX 550s. The old ones with the V8s, though, are the ones that are super reliable. So the GX 400s, I don't know how far back it went, but GX 400 and later or earlier, GX 400 and earlier, I would go on the Lexus there. BB, my comment was a reaction to OJ's Mount Rushmore of race questions, says Jamie Schweitzer. BB, do you know why the Red Bull team in NASCAR shut down? I would just say expense. They probably didn't think it was going to be as expensive as it was, and they were definitely hoping to get better results for their investment, would be my guess. OJ Red Bull turned into BK Racing, who lost their appeal, so they're still going to be held liable for that deal. What was that guy's name? Ron Devine. The $31 million judgment against BK's Ron Devine will be upheld. So there you go. I meant to mention that earlier, but I forgot. Apologies. I once was in a sales for Toyota, and you're right, BB. Get close to the base model. Selling Scion was easy because they were stripped down, offered add-ons, says Dirty Def. Yep, for sure. You're probably right about the thermostat. The temperature gauge would tend to stay on the cold side before this happened, says Dirty Death. Hopefully, fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. It's the thermostat, and it doesn't blow it. It didn't blow a head gasket on any of the times that you cranked it up, which it probably didn't. Probably didn't. You're probably safe there. Hopefully, it's the thermostat. That's pretty cheap. Pretty cheap fix. I remember when Casey Kane was signed by Hendrick from Petty to drive the number 4 Red Bull for Hendrick, but in Toyota for Red Bull. Got a win though at Phoenix. What a run! What a run for Casey Kane there, right before he went to Hendrick. It never really clicked for him at Hendrick the way a lot of people hoped it would. But man, he was the man at Evernham. He got some good wins for Petty there in the number 9 Budweiser car. A lot of people forget there was a brief time where Casey Kane was the Budweiser man driving the number 9 for Richard Petty, and then driving the number 4 for that one transition year for Red Bull. And he got some wins. He got at least one win there in the number 4 Red Bull car. So hell of a run there for Casey Kane. And then he got to Hendrick, and we thought it was going to be this dream pairing, and it just never. There's always one car at Hendrick that doesn't do as good as the others. He happened to be on that one team that couldn't get right with the other teams, unfortunately. Yeah, man. Back in the day, all the drivers hung out there when they were in town, says Jungle Bob. BK Racing in the news again, says old home guy. This will probably be the last time they're in the news, but we'll see. So you can hang out with them, saying Jungle Bob. BB, not sure if you heard about Martin Trix Sr. passing away. I did hear about that, and that's unfortunate. And fairly young. I think he's only in his 60s. So that's crazy, man. Very unfortunate. That sucks for them, and thoughts and prayers go out to the Truex family. That is a tough one. Tough one to take. BB, how many next gen flips in 2025? How many how many super speedways do we have? Is it six super speedway races? I'll go with 6. Bob Euchre also passed away recently. He did, and I put one of his better commercials there at the end of one of my episodes. I want to say Evernham had his eyes on a driver instead of the whole team, says old home guy. That being said, back to the Bob Euchre thing real quick, and then I'll get to the Evernham thing. I've seen a lot more Bob Euchre commercials that I didn't even know existed, because obviously a little bit before, if not before my time, before I was consciously remembering things. Man, he had some funny commercials. That dude was the man. He was the funniest. I don't know if he was the best, but he was definitely the funniest commentator of all time. Evernham had his eyes on a driver instead of the whole team, says old home guy. It happens. It happens. You got 2 heads. You got to think with the one on top of your neck. The number 9 Bud car was awesome. He did very good his first year at Hendrick, but after, not so much. Unfortunately, not so much, says OJ and Toothpaste. He did have a good, solid first year. I will give you that. But it never really materialized the way everybody thought it was, including myself. I thought he was going to go there and be just as good as all the other. I thought the Dynamite team there just never really panned out. I got the Budweiser Casey Kane number 9 neon in the garage, says one wise guy. That's really cool, dude. That's super cool. Those neon signs are hard to get. I remember they would bring them in. I used to work at a bar. They used to bring them in, and they were really super funny about them. Like, they'll let you display them all day, but man, you asked to keep one. It was like an act of Congress. It's through the beer distributors. It's like an act of Congress to actually get a hold of one. Casey Kane had a lot of hype in 2005, like Larson, kind of, says OJ and Toothpaste. Pepsi and Coca-Cola were less. They were less. They cared less about it. Like, they didn't care as much. But like Anheuser-Busch and Miller, they were funny about it. Casey Kane had a lot of hype into Red Bull. Didn't care. Red Bull gave us a free like Red Bull fridge for our Red Bulls. Let's see. Casey Kane had a lot of hype in 2005, like Larson, kinda, says OJ and Toothpaste. No, he did for sure. OJ. No Talladega blowovers in the Gen 7 yet, says Lovey Barkley. Fingers crossed. Don't jinx them. Do we see a 6-time winner this year, says Jamie Schweitzer? That's a good question. I don't know. We could. That's a hard one. That's a hard one to look at, because you just never know. We could see a 10 race winner. I don't know. That's dope. I wish we had a neon sign, one wise guy, says OJ and Toothpaste. I hated Casey Kane when Farmers Insurance sponsored him and my insurance went up, says old home guy. That's part of the deal, man. Gonna watch any of the 24 hours this weekend. I never watched any of it live, but probably will this year since they're to death. It's fun, man. I had a blast the time I went down there and watched it because I could watch the whole thing and I didn't have to keep switching channels where it was going. But yeah, definitely catch. If you can't catch any of it, if you're gonna catch any of it, definitely catch the beginning and catch the end because those are the most fun parts. And then if you can't sleep or something one night, just check it. Just sort of check it at some random hour of the night because they get loopy and they start talking about crazy stuff. And that's when some of your best commentary happens. I feel like I don't know if David Land's going to do it this year, but sometimes David Land goes down there and he does like a live show. He was there. Him and his cameraman Kyle were down there the year I went. I never saw him, but I kept looking for him. I was hoping to run into him and tell him what a good job they do. But I know David Land goes down there sometimes. I don't know if he's going to do it this year. I need to go check out his channel, but sometimes he goes down there and does like a live deal from there. I know the garage guys were there. Chase and Dale Tanhart, they were there the year I was there too, but I never ran into them too. I think they were doing the Barstool deal back then, or at least for that race. Let's see. That Hendrick 5 team fell off a cliff after 2009. Even Mark's the last year in the 5 was pretty rough. Russell Dominguez, what's up, my friend? Let's go, BB. Appreciate you there, Russell. BB, my favorite Casey Kane scheme was the white Dodge Charger #9 with the red stripes in 2005. So close to winning the Brickyard. Tony won though, I think. Says OJ and Toothpaste. I watched him in the. That was a good scheme for sure. One of the better ones. The Dumont Jets #95 when he was racing for Levine Family Racing. That was a good looking car. He had a blue Mopar car that he raced at Charlotte with like some barbed wire on it, and I thought that was a really cool car. He did. I can't remember if he won the race at Charlotte with that or if he dominated the race and he blew an engine or something. But he was kicking ass at one of the races I watched there. I can't remember if he won it or not. I have to go back and look. But if he didn't win with that car, he was leading and blew an engine. But he was dominating one of those Charlotte races, and I always thought that car was really cool looking. To wrap up that story, that went nowhere. This is going to be my third Rolex Live, says Lovey Barkley. Have a good time, man. It should be a good time. Shout out to David Land. Yeah, David Land. The only IndyCar information I have comes from David Land. So shout out to him. He does a great job over there doing the IndyCar coverage. Planning any Cup races this season, says one wise guy. I would like to, but I got to get my schedule from Craig Moore before I plan out some of those races. So we're waiting on Craig, and that's usually going to be last minute. So don't expect anything anytime soon. Cool. Thanks for the advice. Sounds a lot better than I thought. Pretty cool. You can check it out anytime, I guess, wherever you can find it to watch. Yeah, there's like a few hours that you're going to miss, but for the most part, they've got it on. If you've got cable, they've got it pretty much throughout the night. You can find it anywhere. Remember when Casey Mears drove the #25 for Hendrick in 2007 and won a fuel mileage race, the Coke 600? JJ Yaley was second and Kyle Petty third. WTF, says OJ and Two-Face. That was awesome. That was great. Kyle Petty, I wish would have won that race. That would have been so amazing. But that was the last good finish for Kyle Petty. His last win was Dover in the Coors #42 for Sabco. But or Felix Sabatis, I can't remember what it was, but 42 Coors, the pink and the blue and the silver. That was a rad car. Dover win. They had that last Kyle Petty win Dover car at the Winston Cup Win Cup Museum, and I do have some footage of that. So we'll get into that whenever I finish that video. But yeah, I think that was his last top 5. Was that Charlotte race? Was Evernham cursed for people that drove him? Their careers kind of stalled afterwards, says old home guy. Thoughts on? That's probably a pretty fair statement. Thoughts on Brady in the booth? Says in between the lanes. I'm sure he'll do good. I'm sure he'll do good. I haven't really listened to him yet, so I couldn't call it, but I'm sure he'll do fine. Does the Watermelon Man win this year? Oh yeah, he's going to get a win for sure. He'll get into the playoffs too. Last year was an aberration. Old home guy, I agree. Elliott Sadler in the 19 was never very good, or AJ in the 44. David Land was a Star Wars channel. Says Charlotte Ander. I haven't seen the David Land Star Wars channel. I have to go check that out. Breakard does some IndyCar and just a little bit of everything. Yeah, he kind of reminds me of Dave Despain. We need to get Breakard to bring back Two Wheel Tuesday. We'll make a push for that. So don't spam his don't spam his comments or anything like that. But we'll at some point reach out and see if Breakard cares anything about two wheel racing, and if Breakard can bring Two Wheel Tuesday back to the masses. We crave it. We crave Two Wheel Tuesday. Breakard, you must bring it to us. What's ever happened to Ray's new IROC series? I feel like he just wants it to be a touring series of old cars right now. Is the vibe I get. I don't know what he's going to do with it at all. Dirty Death saying peace out. Can't wait for the clash. I pray the weather cooperates. I hope it does too. I hope it does too. And I'm looking forward to it as well. Going to be a cool deal over there in Bowman Gray, the Madhouse. Kyle ran good at Charlotte. He has a 600 win. Yeah, he was a good race car driver. People forget that he was really good in his day. Always finished really high in the points when he was in the right equipment, and then obviously was never the same after his son. He also was never the same after he had a big wreck at one of the road courses and broke his leg. He was never really the same after that either. But definitely losing Adam, you could tell took a toll on him. And who would it not have taken a toll on? But it is what it is. I just hate that nobody remembers Kyle Petty being a really good race car driver, because he was a really good race car driver, ton of talent, no doubt about it. What's going on with your right arm? It's just hanging out, looking like you're petting a cat. Nothing. I'm just banging on the shelf here. I normally have a camera here, so I can't put my arm over there. So there you go. We'll stop doing annoying stuff with the arm. We'll put it back on my leg here. Let's see. I hope you're right about Ross. I'm worried, BB. Ross will be fine. Tuesday is no longer Tuesday. It will be known as BB Live Day. Says in between the lanes. Yeah, man. David's oldest videos are Lego Star. I didn't know that. That's pretty cool. So he's a Star Wars man. Let's see. Thanks for another great live. Got to go, says Jamie Schweitzer. Breakard is great too, for sure. Breakard, David Lamb, both really good dudes. Bring a lot. I don't know David Lamb, but he seems like a good dude. Brings a lot of good content. Kyle broke his leg at Talladega, swerving Irvin, says Delmer Kaufman. BB cold enough for Bowman Gray. LOL, says Jay Campbell. Yeah, I hope all those guys enjoy it at Bowman Gray, because it is going to be, no matter what the precipitation situation looks like, it's definitely probably going to be cold. But hopefully not. I remember KP being pretty legit, but the late 80s, early 90s, he was my jam. Says Charlotte. He was good. A heck of a race car driver. Had the hair going on too. He was as 90s and late 80s as anybody could be. Was Kyle Petty. Had his own like country music album and stuff. Still makes music to this day. Montoya, Newman, Kurt Busch, Larson, Keselowski is the most dangerous team for people around the track, says Lovey Barkley. What's up with the rolls of duct tape? That's just stuff I take with me to the racetrack, and also I use it for gaffer tape when I'm doing filming and stuff like that. So there you go. If the car is red, we use that on the grill. If the car is black, I mean anything else, we use that on the grill to tape off the nose, and then just regular duct tape for regular duct tape activities. Let's see, Jamie. What else can we see here? We got the hat that I normally wear when I'm doing videos. There you go. And then some other. There's my original video camera. It's a Panasonic. What kind of camera is this? Panasonic camcorder of some sort. VDR 210. Panasonic VDR 210. So there you go. That was the OG camera from like I don't know, 04, somewhere in there. 05, 06, 07, somewhere in there. We'll go with 06. 06 feels like a good year. Let's see. McMurray can almost run on foot for what the cars run at Bowman Gray, says David McSwain. Probably pretty accurate. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Hopefully, it's a fun race to watch, though. Speed doesn't matter. It's all about beating and banging at those type of tracks. Last note: Logano never won a Coca-Cola 600 yet. Maybe this year, says Jamie Schweitzer. Could be his year. Old home guy saying, "Peace out, my friend." I got to visit Victory Junction in 2007. Great. That's one thing I've never visited. I need to go. I need to go check that out. Avalon Band, what's up, my friend? Thunderstrikes sent me here. I appreciate you there, Avalon. Always good to have you on here. Thunderstrikes, always a good dude. Larson won the Chili Bowl. Yep, Larson did win the Chili Bowl. Number 3 for him. So a good deal there. Duct tape activities, says Lovey Barkley. I mean, what can you not do with duct tape? Let's not limit ourselves here. If you're if you take duct tape and wrap it around your lighter, you've always got something to start a fire with, because duct tape is a pretty good fire starter. So there you go. Wrap it around your Bic lighter for all your camping activities. Now you've learned something else you can do with duct tape today. Ty Gibbs, Kyle Busch, and Christopher Bell were in the Chili Bowl as well. Yeah, Kyle Busch looked like he had a good time. So did Ty Gibbs. Christopher Bell had a good run in it. He went pretty deep into the final race, I want to say. Kyle Larson, though, led every lap despite wrecking. I think he wrecked twice, did he not? Or he smacked the wall and wrecked, but still held the lead for every lap. Let me say this, KB. Thumbs up to all them guys. I will give you a thumbs up for that. That is a famous Kyle Petty saying at this point. Would being too cold affect the Cup cars at the Madhouse? It probably will hurt the tire fall off. But that is all dependent on how soft of a tire that Goodyear brings there. So it'll be an interesting thing to keep an eye on. Larson said he's a Drake fan and hates Lil Wayne. Says Lovey Barkley. I hope he didn't say that. But if he did, that is a massive L. If he actually said that. Did you check out the Bobby and Terry Chevy commercial yet? I haven't yet. I have not checked that one out yet. But I definitely need to do it. I got sucked into the Bob Uecker commercial rabbit hole and haven't really watched too much other than that. I think I forgot to mention Ricky Stenhouse Jr. at the Chili Bowl. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. at the Chili Bowl making friends. I guess he misjudged it. He said he was trying to give the guy a bump, but he missed. If that's how bad his eyesight is, he missed really bad with just trying to give somebody a bump, because he just drove all the way up on top of him after that. That was prime Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Activities. All right, final results of the poll question. 43% say move it around. 40% say Daytona. 16% say Daytona every 2 to 3 years on a rotation. 1% saying cancel the Clash because reasons. All right. That's all I got for you on this one. Appreciate y'all hanging out, and we'll catch you on the next one. Peace.